Welcome to Talk with Kristen with an E, the podcast that's like therapy, but cheaper and way more fun. I'm Kristen, host, storyteller, and occasional overthinker. From making friends to surviving burnout, reminiscing on our younger days, and learning how to adult, we'll chat about all life's lessons and laugh in between. So grab your drink, get comfy, and let's talk it out. Hey everybody, welcome back. So excited today to have my friend Dana here, and we're going to be talking about friendship. Hi Dana.
Hi, Kristen.
Oh my gosh, I have been waiting so long to be able to do this one, so I'm super excited. So before we start in getting into the big heavy topic we're talking about, do you want to give us a quick introduction of who you are?
So I'm Dana, and Kristen and I became friends quite a few years ago
Yeah.
when our sons were in a playgroup together in the neighborhood that we lived in. That's how we became friends. And then we both moved away, but you would come visit me, and we've just kept in touch for about 11 years now. It's been pretty awesome. So, yeah, I'm just really excited to talk to you because I feel like over the years, we've had a lot of conversations about friendship and navigating friendship and girl drama and all that stuff. So, I am really excited to do this. And also, I want to say that I love your podcast and I'm
Oh,
so excited for you. You are so good. Like, you're a natural at this. And everything from the episode that you did where you read from your diary,
yes.
just the way you read and speak, it's just so soothing to me. I've been checking, like, when's Kristen going to drop another episode? And all the
Yay.
graphics and just like the production value, how prepared. Like, I am just super, super happy for you. And you're just a natural at this. So I'm really excited for it. And I'm happy that you wanted to have me on.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's such high praise from you because you're like in the industry and you've had podcasts before, and I loved it when you had yours. I'm sad that you don't have one anymore. So I love that you love it. That means so much to me. Thank you so much.
So I actually do have a podcast, but like it's not mine, but the radio
That's
show that I'm
true.
on,
Yes.
we do have a podcast that I'm like responsible for promoting it. to some
Yes.
degree. Yeah. So it's called The Ryan Gorman Show, and it's a news radio show that I'm on here in Florida. But we have a podcast that we put out every single day. And it's pretty much like it's for everyone, like anyone can listen to it and relate to it. So we try to keep the news fun and light most of the time and not be too political on one side or the other. So that's like my day job.
I do love that. I love the clips you share from it because I'm always watching those. And you're right. I forgot. I was thinking more like you don't just have your personal podcast anymore, but you're right. That's a huge one and it's out there all the time. So, yes, people should go listen to that and follow you everywhere because you're fantastic and they should follow you.
Well,
So,
thank you. You're fantastic too. And we've had a fantastic friendship, I think. So I'm
we
excited to talk about
have.
this.
Yes. So, about that. So, we talked about how we met through the play group, but do you remember like when we actually met? Because I have
I
these
do.
vivid memories and I want to see if we remember the same thing.
I do. So I don't remember whose house we were at, but we were
Yes.
at like a house party and we were
Yes.
all sitting like in a circle. And it was one of those awkward kind of things where, as a mom, when you have a new baby and you're trying to put yourself out there to meet new people, you go to this event and you're like, okay, am I going to click with anyone? Are they? And then we somehow ended up talking because I think it was because my daughter lived in DC at the time, and you had also lived in DC, and we both knew of the same radio person, and that's
Yes.
how we hit it off and started talking. Yeah.
So that's the same memory I have. And it was so funny because as we were preparing for this, I'm like, I can't remember her name. Like, I remember the living room. I remember what it looked like. She had all these seats around, and we were all sitting there. And I think we'd went to Cheesecake Factory before that. I can't remember. That may have been separate events. But I remember in the moms group, like they had all the subgroups of when your kids were born, but there was the overall moms group. And they're like, let's get together. Let's have a mom's night out. And maybe they were separate ones, but there was one in Cheesecake Factory and one where we ended up back at this girl's house. And yes, that's exactly what it was. Cause you were like, oh, I'm Dana. I'm in radio. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wanted to be in radio. Like, I wanted to go to school for broadcast journalism, ended up just in regular communication arts, but still the same. And then, yes, we found those connections. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this girl. I want to be her friend. And that's when we started hanging out a lot more with The group as a whole, and just we had a couple play dates on our own too with just the boys. We went shopping that one time. Remember we had them in the strollers and walked through the entire mall?
Yes, I do remember that.
Oh my gosh.
And I also remember, and maybe this is getting a little bit ahead of it because it was later on when you were visiting DC when I lived in the DC area and you came over and we had like a sticker party,
Yeah,
like a strapless party, or no, not
it was
strapless,
a
like
planner. It
a
was a
pla-
planner
a
party.
planner party. And you
Yes.
got me into this planning thing because you're so good at it and so creative. And I was like, I'm going to make my planner all pretty and I'm going to get organized. And I went and spent hundreds of dollars on all this
Yes.
planner supply stuff. And I didn't keep up with it because that's just not me. But I really admired that about you. I'm like, I need to be more like Kristen and have this organized, neat, pretty planner. And mine turned out to be a fail, but we had a really fun night that night, like playing with stickers like we were 12 years old.
It was so fun. It was like an old school slumber party. And like we were watching like TV, we had YouTube on or something, and we were just sitting and gossiping and building our little planner pages. And we were having so much fun. That was one of my favorite memories too. So we had a lot of fun together.
We definitely did.
So now that we've talked a little bit about our friendship, do you want to talk about other parts of the friendship? Do we want to get into the struggles of adult friendship, or do we start want to start talking first about making friends as an adult and some of our experiences or some of the challenges we've had? Because we have moved around several times, and every time it's like new place, new friends. What are we doing?
Yeah, I know. And it's hard. And I feel like over time, I've become a little, I don't want to say bitter about it, that's not the
Mm-hmm.
right word, but a little bit more hesitant about trusting people because I think there were some experiences in the neighborhood that we lived in, we first met
Mm-hmm.
when the boys were small, where I feel like I've been blindsided a few times by, let's just be honest, there are some women who, because of their own insecurities or because of their own struggles in their own lives, they will do things that hurt other people or that hurt their friends. Or I've been in situations where, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that to me. I thought she was my friend.
Yes.
And so now at this stage, I feel like I'm a little bit more cautious about who I open up to. It's almost like dating, like when you want to put
Yes.
yourself out there and you like fall in love with someone immediately. And then you realize, well, maybe there were some red flags I didn't, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe I need to protect my own heart more before I just go all out and connect. And I feel like you and I, like we made that like instant connection and it turned out to work out. Like you turned out to be a good person. And I think I turned out to be a good
Yes.
person. And we've had a friendship that's lasted all this time, but it doesn't always work that way. I think I try to be a little bit more cautious. And I don't know if you listen to the Mel Robbins podcast, but
Occasionally, yes. She has an adult friendship
she
one.
did
It's a very good one.
yeah, so I just recently listened to that one and she made some really good points about how making friends as an adult is more challenging than it was when we were younger.
Mhm.
You're just different stages in life. Sometimes you think you have this close friendship, but your friend will have something else come up in their life that just takes precedence over the friendship, and how you just have to, her thing now is let them and just let
Mhm.
people be who they are and do their own thing. So yeah, there's so much we could talk about. Yeah, I don't know exactly where you want to start with all of it. There's a lot.
I like the first thing you brought up about it being like dating because I do feel like it's like that. Like you're putting yourself out there, and when you join these groups, whether it's a mom group or a meetup or some other Facebook event group thing, like you're putting yourself out there and you want, at least for me, like I want friends so badly, I will do whatever. Oh, sure. This person, yeah, we can make it work with this person, or this person, yeah, like me. Like, and I almost force it. Like, okay, these are my options. These are the people in this group. So these are the people I have to be friends with, and you maybe change yourself or change things about your personality or something to try to fit in this mold. And you mentioned Mel Robbins. Another one that's really good is Brene Brown. And she has shared this thing about the difference of fitting in and belonging. And fitting in, and you change something about yourself so you fit with that group. But belonging is actually your purpose of self, and that you are there and you actually belong in your space. And it's like that different variation. I see that. And like so let's take, for example, the play group we were in. We were all there because we had kids the same age. Like they were born between, what was it, like August 2012 till, or yeah, August 2012 to like August 2013 or something. And some of those girls, that's the only thing I had in common with them is we happened to have a child around the same age. But you force it and you're like, yeah, sure, we can make this work. I can work with that. And then after a while, you see the cracks because it's not a true friendship. Would you say it's some of the things you've experienced also?
Yeah, definitely. And just speaking about that group in particular, I'm a little bit older than a lot of the women were who had kids that age because I was 35 when my son was born. So I know I'm like how much older than you? 5 or 6 years older
5,
than
yeah, because
you.
I was
And then
30. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And then there were women who were in their early 20s that were in
Yes.
that group too. So even just that alone, I think the things that you have in common with people can be different. I
Mhm.
think there's also a maturity level that was
Yes.
different. And I can think of one person in particular in the group who she was very young, insecure. It almost seems to me like the relationship that she was in maybe wasn't the best. And I think she just had a lot of issues that then came out in the group and caused some drama and some heartache
Mhm.
for some other people. And so I think like there was some drama and there were things that happened that really hurt me. And
Mhm.
I know that I learned a lot about myself because I reacted to some of it and let my hurt feelings get the best of me. And then I tried to defend myself. And then I end up engaging in some drama with people.
Yes.
And it was kind of like a life lesson, like something I learned from that, that maybe I don't always have to react to what people say. I actually think so. I'm almost divorced now, but one of the things that my husband and I did to try to save our marriage is we did 3 years of marriage counseling. And it didn't save our marriage, but I learned a lot about myself going through that and how I'm a very emotional person and I
Mhm.
care about people. And when somebody wrongs me or I feel like somebody was talking about me or misunderstood me, I will fight back. I get super upset, super defensive. I want my side to be heard. And that doesn't always fix the problem. Like that doesn't always make things work out in your favor. It actually sometimes would make the problem worse. So I really tried to learn that in marriage counseling. Another thing that I did in between the time that we had first met and over the last 10 years, I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence
Oh,
People.
wow.
And it's a really old book.
Mhm.
Some of the and actually a friend of mine who I used to work with had told me for years to read the book. And at one point he was finally like, you just have to read this book. So for anyone who hasn't read it, it's so good. And one of the things that I really took from it is that to win friends and influence people, it's not necessarily about impressing people or it's not about being like, hey, look at me. Here's why I'm awesome. Here's why you should want to be my friend. That you can really make an impression on people by asking about them,
Yes.
by making them feel special, by what you can give to them, by being curious about their lives. And even just something as simple as like remembering somebody's name or thinking about the fact that when I moved back to this neighborhood, because for the people listening, I lived here for a while, moved away, and moved back 8 years later. And when I came back, I wanted to create like a village because I don't plan on
Mhm.
moving again. I wanted to create like a village for my son, for myself, and most of the friends that I had made here had moved away. So I went into it with a whole new perspective. Like, I don't have to be a person who's like looking to get people to like me or who's looking to what can this do for me. I can say I just want to connect people and hopefully I'll make some friends for myself too. But I could tell because it was right as people were starting to go out again after COVID. I planned this. I moved back. I got in the mom group again and I planned a dinner and like 20 people showed up.
Oh, wow.
And I had only met one of them before. 20 people showed up and I tried to make it a point to everyone, what's your story? When did you move here? How old are your kids? What do you do? What are you looking for? And it's cool because it's been 3.5 years
Mhm.
and I'm still friends with some of those people that I met that one
Oh, on
night.
that first night? I
It's
love that.
yeah, yeah, so some people have moved away or drifted apart, and also some people who met that night formed their own friendships, and I don't really keep in touch with them anymore. They just have different. We don't have anything in common, or they gravitated towards different people. But there were a lot of friendships that were formed from that one night. I don't know. I feel good about that. And I think that going into it, like being a little bit older and wiser, I guess, I went into it to make friends for myself, but also to try to connect people, to try to see what I could give and bring to the table for other people, as opposed to I want to make friends because I need to feel validated and I need to.
No, and I love that, and I think there's so much truth to all of that because what you put in can be what you get back, but also what you put in is what you're giving towards other people, and I think that's a huge thing, and I do think that comes with age also because you're not Selfish almost sounds really harsh, but you're not as selfish. Like you're looking more for the bigger picture. Like you even said, you were looking like, let me build this connection for my son, for my family. Because yeah, when the boys were little, like we weren't thinking about them making friends because at the beginning they were babies. They were just literally lumps laying there. As they got a little bit older, they would interact some more, but it wasn't about them. It was all about us and how we felt about and who we were connecting with. But when you're looking more from this angle now with more experience, more maturity, you're able to see how you're doing it more for other people. And I think that's huge. Now, the women that you met that first night, whether you're friends with them or not, were they older this time? Because I'm curious if the age thing played into the group mentality in this version also.
So I'm still one of the oldest. I'm not the
Hmm.
oldest within the group of people. And from that dinner, we also ended up starting a bunco group where I don't know if you know what bunco is,
Explain it for the
but it's
listeners.
okay. So bunco is a dice game, and the standard is to play with 16 people. It's four teams of four. And every round of the game, you rotate. So you play it, different people host it every time. And it's a really good social game because, first of all, you get together. We usually get together for an hour or so to just chat and talk before we start playing. But then once you're sitting at a table, every single round, you rotate and you end up sitting with new, different people. So you end up
Hmm.
talking to pretty much everyone who's there. And we've been playing that. I started it in February of 2022. And so we just played like our last bunko. We did a Galentine's theme. And so it was 3 years that we've been playing pretty much every month. And we do end up skipping a month here and there if people are busy or whatever, but we play pretty much every month. And so many great friendships have been made just from that group. And the way I advertised it was I posted it in the main mom group for the community, and then people have joined it from there, or sometimes people will come with a friend and then they end up joining too. So it's been really fun for me. And, like I mentioned before, I've gone through a divorce over the last year and my family's not here. So it's been the friends that I've met through that group that have really been my support system, which has been really important.
And that's awesome. And I think that's another thing too, as you get older, is looking, I don't want to call it necessarily activity based friendship, but I feel like that's a different way to find people who have a shared interest and you're able to make more friends that way. When I moved to the neighborhood we're in, and we've been here since 2017 now, I had started a book club. I think I waited until we've been here maybe 6 months to a year. I can't remember exactly how long we've been, but and it's same thing. I posted it on Nextdoor. I'd posted it on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, anybody want to join a book club?" Because my thought was, I like reading. If I find other people who enjoy reading, we already have a shared interest. It's an activity where it's an independent activity. You read the book alone, but then you come together and discuss it. And like you said, then there's other conversation that happens from that. So I had started that in the first group. We had, I don't know, maybe 6 people show up. It wasn't a huge thing, but then it got bigger because as more people told their friends about it, then they're joining or they're finding the Facebook group or they move into the neighborhood. And when they search for Facebook groups with our community name in it, that pulls up and they're like, oh, this is great. And it was like, it got to a point, it actually almost got too big. Like we were having so many people coming that you weren't even able to really discuss the book because everyone was always just talking about their lives, which was a beautiful thing to see. And I've actually trans transferred it to somebody else runs it now because it got so big and then I was going back to grad school and it was a lot for me to handle, but the group is still going and it's so exciting to see building that community that it's still going on, like you said, finding those connections even if it's not for me. Like I didn't get a lot out of it and I did make some friends out of it, friends I'm still friends with now, but then it's still going on and the other people are still building a community. It's beautiful to see that because it's getting away from just the I need to have friends. It started as that, but it wasn't even about that. It was about I want to get to know people in this neighborhood because we have a big neighborhood. And like you said, being able to have a support system locally is so good. If you need somebody to pick up a kid or you need somebody to come over and watch your dog, having community within a community is something that I found to be so beneficial in my old lady age now.
I know. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I love that. And I remember you telling me when you started that book club, and it's just like it's so great not only for what it brought to you, but also what it did for other women who were also looking for a sense of community and friendship and all that. So I love that. We're connectors,
Yes,
Kristen.
we are connectors for sure. And that's why people love us. I wanted to bring up something else you'd talked about too, about the asking people questions, because this is something I've been doing for years. Because People like to talk about themselves. And if you ask them
Mhm.
questions and then you keep asking them more questions, they feel like they had a really good interaction with you because, like, oh my gosh, Kristen asks all these questions about me. She's so interested. This is really great. And I've been doing that for years. I had a lot of resentment towards it because I felt like I was the one more invested in the friendship than people because I was the one asking the questions, following up with their kids, their life, all their things. And I'd be like, why doesn't anybody care about me? Like all these interactions we have, I'm learning all this stuff about them, but I feel like they don't want to know about me. Is that anything you've seen when you've been building friendships? Or am I just like the crazy one here?
No, I don't think you're the crazy one at all. And I actually, as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, when I initially meet people, I feel like I'm good at it. But I think over time, with people that I have established friendships with, sometimes I'm so wrapped up in my own nonsense that when I do talk to someone, I'm like, oh my gosh, and then this happened, and then this happened, and I have this going on. And honestly, I do have a lot of stuff going on in my life right now. I'm dealing
Hmm.
with that hard. So when I've caught up with friends recently, I feel like I'm just like spouting off and then this and he's got this and she's got that. And then I have to remind myself, like, okay, let me make sure that I how they're doing too. And it's not that I don't care. It's just that I have so much that sometimes I feel like
Yes.
I need to do that emotional dumping. And then I feel bad about it. I'm like, I don't need to feel bad about it. So I do sometimes have to be aware of that because I like to talk about myself. I can totally understand where you're coming from because I have had friendships in the past where I felt like I was the one who was keeping it going. I was the one who was reaching out. I was the one who was trying to make plans. And I feel like the good friendships that I have now are a really good balance
Yeah.
of I reach out, she reaches out, I say, hey, do you want to go do this? The other person says, hey, do you want to go do this? And it's a really good balance right now. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, and I think that's right because I said I'd felt resentful for a while, but I don't think necessarily those were my people. I think in some aspects they were still the forced friendships because you're right, when it's right, like it just clicks and you're not worried about, oh, am I texting her too much? Oh, look, she wants to do this. It's definitely a more balanced approach, I think, when you're in the right friendship or the right relationship. Like everything just works and you are not as in your head about it. It just naturally happens. And I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now about someone who I've known for a couple of years who seemed to be struggling with making friends within the group. And she had reached out to me and said, I'm wondering what's going on. I feel like people don't like me. And I ended up going out and having lunch with her. And I was honest with her about some of the things that she had said that I had heard, like firsthand, that she said in front of me that I felt were not
Okay.
and then I said, but I think that can be forgiven. I think I feel like she says what's on her mind without thinking sometimes. And
Mhm.
you know how like we could have a private conversation and maybe say something that we wouldn't say in a group setting.
Yeah.
Let everybody talk a little bit of trash here and there.
Sure.
We all do it. And if we say that we don't, we're totally lying to ourselves. So we all do it, but you don't do it in a big group of people. So I feel like sometimes the filter isn't there. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. So anyway, we go out, we have this lunch. She seems to be very receptive to what I say and take it to heart. And then after that, I felt like maybe I should make more of an effort to be a friend to her. And I would reach
Mhm.
out and try to say, like, how are you feeling? How's this going? How's that? And I found that over time, my efforts just weren't reciprocated in that way. I'll get a text if she has a question for me or if she's frustrated. But amount of effort that I felt like she wanted to put in to keep up that connection with me, it just wasn't there. And I feel like I've tried enough with this person. I don't have anything against her. I like her. I still consider her a friend. I'll spend time with her if it happens. But you get to a point where you're like, there's only so much I can do for you. And there's only so much time that I can put in and effort I can make when the friendship isn't going to be reciprocated. So I don't know why that just popped into my head, I guess, when we were talking about feeling like you're putting in more effort.
I think that's a perfect example of it too, is that like I'm saying, when it's right, it just clicks. And your example is like, I tried with her. First of all, applaud you for being honest with her because I think that's something that needs to be done more. When people want feedback, we should be able to give it to them in an open and honest way to help them be better about it. So I think that's awesome that you even shared that with her to begin with and made the effort with her. And I do think sometimes that things just aren't meant to be, but you put the work in. But I would bring this question up because I have seen similar things like that where I'm friends with somebody and it just fades away or fizzles. And it's not anybody's fault. Like you're putting it in, but it's just not working. You're not getting there. So, what advice do you have for people who may be in that stage where they're trying to make a friendship work, but it's not working and it's not anybody's fault? How can people deal with situations like that?
Did I just quote Mel Robbins and say, let them? Like,
And done.
yeah. No, and it's frustrating because sometimes it can be really hurtful and
Mm,
you think that and maybe it's a situation where you feel like you found the one. You found this
yes.
is going to be my bestie. We're getting close to each other. And then for whatever reason, they're not making the effort. It could be something that you did or something that rubbed them the wrong way. But most likely, it's probably just we all have so much stuff going on in our
Hmm.
lives that I feel like a lot of times we have to make like a conscious effort to make our friendships a priority because when you
Yes.
have work, a husband or a relationship, the rest of your family, and of course, kids, like those are four things I feel like that a lot of times have to come before your friendship. And so people just get pulled in so many different directions that when a friendship seems to be going in the right direction and then it's not working out or they cancel plans all the time or they're not texting you back. Most likely it's not anything to do with you. Most likely it's just that this person just doesn't have the capacity to maintain their friendship anymore. And that's when I feel like you let them cut your losses, try not to take it to heart, and then you go and try to meet some new people or focus on another friend. Maybe there's somebody who's been inviting you to do stuff and you've not given them the cold shoulder, but maybe not put in the effort with that person who's really trying to reach out to you. And you can shift your focus and put in the effort with someone who's trying to put in the effort with you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I do agree with you because I've found even that there's times where I'm busy and I'm like, did I even talk to this person this week? Like, when was the last time I reached out? Because we get so busy with our own stuff. And like you said, keeping up with all the work stuff, the family stuff. You want friends to be a priority, but sometimes it just can't be because of everything else going on. And so it really is an intentional effort to make sure you're making that contact and reaching out. And if it's not reciprocated, you're right. Don't take it personally. And that's something I still struggle with because I take everything personally. I'm like, oh my gosh, she didn't text me back. She must be mad at me. Or, oh my gosh, she only said okay. She must be mad at me. I'm getting better, but it has been a struggle for years of I just think everybody hates me and everybody's mad at me and whatever. So we're working on that.
And so with the whole idea of feeling like, oh, she doesn't like me, oh, this, oh, that, one of the things that we've dealt with in this big friend group with the Bunko people and the people just from the mom group in general that I've spent a lot of time with is that now the group is so big. I would say there's probably about 50 or 60 women that are in this group that have come through, played bunco, gone to the social events. Some of them I know pretty well. Some of them I barely know, or some of them I haven't even met, but they've become part of the other groups that have broken off.
Mhm.
And we'll all get together to play bunco. There's a lot of birthday celebrations where you'll have kind of a big birthday gathering. But then there's just groups where people break off and they do their own thing in like a smaller group. And what starts to happen is when you've got 20 or 30 people who are all friends with each other, you
Mhm.
can't invite everyone to everything. You
Right.
just can't. You can't make plans on a night that everyone's going to be able to go to your birthday party.
Yep.
So what's happened recently is that I really had to learn, and I know some of the other women are struggling with it too, that if I see that these six people went out to a concert together, or if these other eight people went to dinner together, or if these two people just went out, just the two of them, that I can't feel like I was excluded because it's not intentional. We went out last night and there were four of us, and we're friends with other people that had asked us to do something else. And we were like, oh my gosh, we have these plans. And we didn't leave anybody out intentionally. We just were like, let's the four of us just go do this and keep it small. And so you have to not be sensitive to that. And there are some people who I feel like really struggle with that
Mm.
and feel like they've been excluded. There is a group that all plays pickleball. And I don't play pickleball, and a bunch of other people don't play pickleball. But the women who play pickleball, they all do things together. And we're still friends with them. We do other things with them, but then they have their own pickleball thing. And I think that's been hard for some of the friends who see them all together and they're like, why wasn't I invited?
Mhm.
And there's one reason, because you don't play pickleball with
Yes.
them. It's a pickleball. And so it's great to have this really big group in this support system. Like one of my good friends just went through her family just went through something really difficult. And the group came together to make meals for her and to do all these great things for her. And it was widespread how everybody just wanted to do that. And it's so great to have that village. But then on the other side, you have it where when there is such a big group, that also can come with it where people feel
Mhm.
excluded or have to struggle with maintaining their confidence that it's not personal, that I wasn't invited to that particular thing.
I think social media makes it more in your face too, because when people hanging out, normally, if you didn't have social media, you wouldn't know who was hanging out unless you actually saw them in real life. But social media, you see it and you're like, oh, they're all hanging out and they're hanging out without me. But to your point, yes, somebody could be like off at a concert. You're like, oh, they didn't invite me. Do you like that music? Would you have gone? No, that's why they didn't invite you. But for some people, that is still
Right,
hard because they want to be included in everything. The meme that went around a few years ago was like, I'm not going to go, but I still want to be invited or something like that. And
right.
it's like
Yes,
people just want to
exactly.
be included. And it can be hard, especially until you get that through your head that it's not personal. It's not because they don't want to invite me. It could be a space thing, it could be a time thing, it could be an activity thing. But we get so in our head sometimes that it's just we make it about ourselves because the world revolves around us. We're the main character in our movie. So we take everything that way. And I think that's a huge thing to be able to get past that, especially in friendships, and to not be so focused on yourself, but to be open about other experiences.
And I think it also can just be something as simple as when you have a big group together, if you try to do a big group dinner, it's a pain
Hmm.
to make reservations.
Yes.
You end up only talking to the three people that are sitting
Hmm.
right near you at the table anyway. So if you've got 20 people at a dinner, you're not going to end up really talking to all 20 of them anyway. So
Hmm.
what's wrong with having a smaller little gathering and then you'll end up getting together with different people the next time. And I think the best conversations that I've had or the times where I've really connected with people is more of a one-on-one or where there's
Yes.
only three or four people together. That's when you can really have like deeper conversations, really get to know people more, and everybody can share something. When you're out in a big group of 20 people, it's more like small talk and it just makes it harder to communicate. So I think definitely having a smaller gathering is not ever to intentionally leave certain people out. It's more to just be able to create those bonds and enjoy like a smaller little gathering with people.
Yeah, because the bigger it gets, then depending on who you're sitting by, and then I start worrying like, "I was having a good time. Oh, over at the end of the table looks like nobody's talking to her, but I can't do anything because I'm here in the middle." And it's a whole thing. And you're right. I find I do better one on one or like in small groups of three or four because, like you said, it's easier to open up. There's two girlfriends of mine, and we go out to sushi every month with a little sushi squad. Sometimes we go hiking and then we go to sushi. It's a great time. And we've posted on Facebook when we've gone out, and people are like, oh my gosh, I would love to go. Oh, I love sushi. That's great. We all love sushi. Sure, you should all come. But it's so hard. Like the three of us, just finding one day a month where just the three of us can go together is hard. Never mind navigating like 17 people who all want to go eat sushi with us. So we talked about it last month and we're like, look, here's what we're going to do. All these people want to be a part of it. That's fine. We don't want to exclude anyone. We're going to find the date that we are going for sushi and we will put it out. This is where we're going to sushi. This is when we're going to sushi. Feel free to come by. So it's almost like an open invitation, but at the same time, we know the three of us are still going to be there. If people want to come, grab a table near us. We'll say hello, the little niceties, hang out with them kind of in smaller pieces rather than trying to get a reservation. Because then there's some restaurants who are, oh, we can only split your bill three ways. Cool, there's 18 of us. What are you going to do with that? So it's
Right. Oh, yeah,
that's a pain
exactly.
too.
Yeah, we had a birthday dinner with 11 people last weekend. And when I made the reservation and I said we were going to be separate checks, and then they didn't end up splitting the bill. And so it was a disaster
Yes.
trying to figure it all out. And finally, we ended up just asking the woman, hey, you got to split this for us because we don't want to end up bickering over it.
Mhm.
And it just was going to turn into a nightmare. Yeah, that can be a problem too. Now, one of the other things I was hoping that we would touch on a little bit is friendships where you get stabbed in the back. Have
Oh,
you had that
yes.
happen to you
Uh,
and how to handle it?
Yes.
because I I've had this happen to me many times, and like I said at the beginning of the podcast, there were times where I handled that very poorly. And I had a situation not too long ago where I was blindsided by
Mhm.
what someone did. And it was one of those things where you get to trust someone and you really feel like this person has my back. And when it becomes clear that no, they actually don't, like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. And so that happened to me and I had to just cut it off. And I tried to do it as nicely as possible. And then I got a little heated and it got a little ugly. But then after that, I just said, look, like we need to just agree to disagree, but I can't. You
Mhm.
hurt me. This is what happened. And she was hurt too. And then it was like, let's just call it truth. And it took almost a year and a half before this person would let it go. And
Really?
I was like, I'm done with this. I can be civil, like, I'm done with this. And it would get back to me that
Mhm.
this person did not want to let bygones be bygones. And so I feel like I did the best I could I tried really hard
Mhm.
to let it go. When we would have group get togethers, I did not talk about this person. We had mutual friends, and I just really didn't want to keep it going.
Yeah.
But it was so hard because I was just like, oh my gosh, why is this coming up again?
Mhm.
And I then now that everything is in the, I feel like even though it seemed like some people maybe took her side or heard her side of the story and didn't hear mine, now I feel like this person's true colors have shown
Mhm.
other people who now see what I saw a couple of years ago. And I, it just made me feel like vindicated in a way. And
Mhm.
I can be proud of myself that I could have gone around and saying all kinds of stuff and doing, and like could have
Yes.
not taken the high road.
So, yes, I do think taking the higher road is the better way, and you probably did the right thing. Not probably, like, I believe, not even knowing the situation, you did the right thing because I think that goes back to the maturity level also. So, I've had similar things where maybe not huge backstabbing, but enough where you think you're in with a certain person or a certain group. You're like, yeah, these are my people, these are my friends, you're doing life together. And then something happens, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I expected. What's happening? And for me anyway, I was like, am I the one the wrong? Are they the one the wrong? What's going on? And then it was a whole thing. And like, I felt really broken from it for a while too. And, but like you said, like I took the high road, like I wasn't talking about it. If it came up with other mutual friends, I'm like, oh yeah, we're not really friends anymore. Just kind of let it go because I didn't want to bring up whoever was in the wrong. I think looking back now, there were probably both of us had parts to do with it, but trying to not talk about it and just let it go. But I don't know. It's so hard. Like friendship breakups, I think on some aspects are almost harder than relationship breakups, especially if you don't have a reason. When a relationship breakup, it's, I don't want to be with you anymore. We're breaking up. This is the reason, whatever. There's like usually like some kind of break, even if you try to be friends after. Relationships are still over, but friendships, I feel like there's not usually a hard break, and if there is, then it's very clear. But some of these ones that kind of have mushy breaks, oh, she's mad at me, or I'm mad at her, or this happened, I feel like it's not as clear. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to really handle them because friendships are just so much different than relationships in many aspects.
It really is. And I also think that sometimes with a friendship, we're not as likely to try to work it out or to just say, hey, this is what happened. And to deal with your feelings in a respectful and healthy way.
Mhm.
Easier, I think, especially with friendships for women to just be like, oh, she ticked me off and I'm just not going to talk to her. Oh, she ticked me off, so I'm going to be passive aggressive. Or,
Yes.
oh, she ticked me off, so I'm going to go and complain about her to all these other friends and stir the pot until
Mhm.
it spirals out of control or turn people against her. Or I want to vent about my side of the story to other people instead of going directly to the person and saying, hey, here's why I'm upset with you, or here's what happened that I'm not happy about. I feel like I was left out, or I feel like you didn't take my feelings into consideration, or I feel like you would have been there for me on this, or whatever the problem is. I feel like a lot of times we don't do that in friendship. It's just, oh, she ticked me off and I'm just going to be mad about it and the friendship instead of handling it in like a way where you treat the other person with respect and try to work it
Mhm.
out.
And in an environment that we're in, again, social media or even regular media, where it's almost like you're taught to take sides. Like, even think back to Laguna Beach time, right? Like, you're either Team
Yeah.
Kristen or you were Team LC. Like, there was no middle ground. And I feel like that we have embraced that almost as women as part of our personality, that you can't see both sides of the story. You're either on her side or you're on my side. Pick your side. And that, yes, when something goes wrong, women will often go and try to rally the troops and gather their team so that they can fight the injustice that was done towards them without actually looking at the big picture and what's going on. It's like, even when we get mature, and I do think as we get older, it goes away a little bit, but I still think that it is deep inside us sometime, and even a little bit of that mean girl mentality where almost like we have to get our team with us so that we are in the right, even if we're not.
Right. And it's hard not to do struggled with that a lot with this situation that happened a couple of years ago where I had my close friends
Mhm.
who I knew like they knew the situation. Some of them were actually involved in it and who I could vent to, talk to about it. But I lost sleep over this situation for a long time and felt like everybody's talking about me. Nobody likes me because of her.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, but I gotta just keep my mouth shut, and people continued to come to my events and to spend time with me and hang out with me, and we would have a good time, and I wouldn't bring it up at all. And
Mhm.
I think that ended up working out in my favor, but it was really hard to not want to tell my side of the story to everyone because I felt like I was so wrong. But again, in the long run, it ended up working out. And I also tried to have compassion for the other person because I feel like there's obviously things that she's struggling with that cause her to this way. And even though the way that I handled it wasn't 100%, I definitely could have kept my cool a little bit more. But I feel like I let it build up and build up. I finally said something. It didn't go my way. I got mad. I just told her exactly how I felt. And then after that, I apologized and said, hey, I want peace. Peace did not happen for a long time
Yeah.
because I think some people just are insecure and they hold on to. But it's hard. And then it made it hard for a number of women who were friends with both of us
Mm.
for them to navigate it, for them to spend time with me, probably wondering, did she really do this? And wanting
Yeah.
to maintain a friendship with me, and then maintaining a friendship with her, where I believe that she continued to talk about it quite a bit. And just feeling like they had to pick a side, even though I said nobody has to take my side. I just want peace. But I feel like it did put a lot of people in bad situations. And then for those people who were having an event, then they have to navigate. And this has happened quite a bit, not just with this one situation, but
Mhm.
now there's some other situations. Some women are fighting over politics right now within the
Mm.
group because she voted for this person or whatever. And so now that's become an issue where you had this whole big group that could all get together and have fun. And now you've got certain personalities that don't mesh with each other, and people feeling like they've got to choose, if I invite her, then I can't invite her. And it just creates a big mess, and
Mhm.
people have issues with each other. And it's really hard to navigate that. And that's why I almost feel like keeping your circle a little bit smaller
Yeah.
might actually not be the worst thing. Like, you're never going to be able to be friends with everyone. This idea that you can have this big group of 50 or 60 or 100 women that are all friends with each other,
Mhm.
it is never going to happen. So keeping your circle small and just learning. Now I think I know who I can trust
Mm.
with this group. Like, I've gotten to know people enough to know who's just got a good heart, who wants to stay out of the nonsense, who wants to just be a good person and have a good time and just go out and have fun, and who the people are that maybe are going to talk a little bit of trash, or who are going to have you tell them something and they're going to go tell somebody else when they really shouldn't be doing that. So I think it's taken a couple of years, but I finally can see that it's not that I don't like these people. It's just that you tend to realize the personality type and
Mhm.
who your people are and who you can get along with and who's out to maybe stir the pot sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's good when you can figure those out, because oftentimes people can be so fake and you think that everybody's your friend. And you were talking earlier, worrying about, are they talking about me? Are they saying things? I believe when I moved away from Florida, I'd heard that people were talking about me. And it was really hard because nobody actually knew what had happened or my side of the story. And I wasn't going to get involved with it. And to hear people who maybe knew bits and pieces or didn't know it all, I'm like, I'm gone. Why are people even still talking about me? It was a weird thing. But I think it goes back to the point you're saying that everybody has stuff going on in their life. And I think some people do it out of the insecurities that they have. I know I've done it when my insecurity was really high. Like I was definitely a mean girl and I admit it and I've moved on from it, I hope. But no, it's when you get insecure, you try to point out things in other people or shed the light on somebody else or make somebody else look worse than you. So I have to take it that way that it's not about me when people are talking about it that way. There's something going on with them, and I have to remember that. And I think to your point about the smaller circles, I really do think that's it. But I feel like we're fed this false reality that there are huge groups of people and they do life together, and here they are vacationing together, and here they are doing this together. And if you don't have this huge group, like you're nothing. And that's something I struggle with. But to your point, I think a lot of that is fake, either faked or just fake friendships or it's not true. Like, I really do find when you get that smaller group and you're able to open up and share your vulnerableness with other people and have them do the same, that's when you really get to the true level of friendships. And those are your true friends. It's just a matter of finding who they are in the broad group, finding where those connections
Yeah,
are and then building on them.
you just weed the bad apples out. Or not that I
Yes.
should call anyone a bad apple, but you figure out who your people are. And I totally agree that so much of what we see on social media is fake as far
Mhm.
as the friends and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll see pictures and I'll be like, wait a minute. I thought they last week they didn't like each other.
Right.
And and it's like I've definitely had situations where I'll have a bit of a conflict maybe with someone and then we work it out. But sometimes I feel like, yeah, I'm like, they were just I just heard that they were going at it or that she's talking about her and she's talking about her. And then all of a sudden they're having lunch together and
Hmm.
everything's fine. And my hope is that the people that I trust that I consider my good friends at this point, that they're not doing that with me behind my back.
Right.
And I really don't think that they are. And I also feel like, because I've had some conversations about some of these like drama situations, I have had conversations. We do talk about it, but I feel like we're talking about it more in like a analysis kind of way or what must be going on here or like the complexities of trying to navigate it as opposed to just talking trash about people or blaming people. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
feel there's a difference between trying to figure out how to navigate that type of stuff and just gossiping for the sake of
Right.
gossiping.
Yes. Because when you're with your true friends, it's like you're trying to, like you said, analyze or break it down. Okay, this is the situation. This is what I'm feeling. These are the actions I should take or something. And it's good to have friends to bounce that off of who can help you navigate it because they also may see it differently than you are. Because sometimes when you're still too close to a situation, you're like, all right, this is what I think I should do. And this is what I think I should say. But somebody who knows you and the situation and you trust, they could be like, okay, hang on, let's take a step back. What if you did this instead? And I think having those kind of people as your confidants and as advisors, maybe instead of just
Mhm.
gossiping with you, I think that you do need those people in your life when it comes to situations that are
Absolutely.
challenging like this.
Definitely. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up, this is just a piece of advice for people who might be listening. Don't unfriend people on Facebook, especially if it's because you heard something about someone and you didn't even have the direct issue. I've been unfriended by a couple of people who all of a sudden I just realized we're not friends anymore. And this all has to do with stuff that I don't even know what the problem is. But now, and it's happened to a few other people too, but now what I feel like has happened is because those people unfriended me, it's like now it's awkward. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you could have whatever kind of beef you have with me. If you heard something that you don't like, some of it may be political, some of it may be because of the situation I mentioned earlier with that person that I'm not friends with any.
Mhm.
Like whatever the case may be, I realized I was unfriended. And now that all this time has passed, and things have been mended with certain other situations. Now the people who have unfriended me, it's awkward if I see them. So like maybe they're avoiding me or some other people that they unfriended. And it's what for? 'Cause
What I,
now they made it awkward.
yes.
Like I can't- you cannot like me and still just stay Facebook friends with me so that you don't make it awkward.
Yes, because what's even more awkward is after you find out they unfriended you, but then you get a friend request from them. Because that happened to me. And I was like, oh, wait, so you unfriended me and now you want to be my friend again? This is
Right.
interesting. There's
Yeah, that's
features
happened to me too.
you can just
These
hide
people
people. You don't have to see their stuff. You can hide them and still keep the Facebook friendship there so it's not weird for anyone.
Yeah, I just feel like, especially when there are people who unfriended me because of what somebody else said, and now I'm okay with that other person,
Y-
and now you're still avoiding me, and there's still an awkward thing there because you unfriended me, and I don't even really know exactly why.
Yes.
So it's just one of those like really weird things where it's not that deep. Like it's not that much big feeling to unfriend me
Yes.
on Facebook and then make it weird. Yeah, I don't know. And I also think like there was somebody who always played bunco with us and then she got upset about something that happened and then she left the group and doesn't want to come back and then is upset that she's not included. And I'm like,
Uh,
you got upset about one thing with one person
mm,
and you let it all blow up in your face.
yeah.
So it's like when you get involved with a big group of women, you got to not take things personally,
Mm,
find your people, be nice to everyone, and
yep.
try not to let your emotions get the best of you and overreact. And I used to be the worst at that. I would get so upset. I'd lash out, I'd comment, like flip
Yes.
out. I'd unfriend people. I'd block people. I used to because
I
you
know.
witnessed it. I used to get so mad, and I just learned over time. And after reading that book and doing therapy, I was
Hmm.
like, I'm maybe I'm not to blame for what initially happened, but my reactions and
Hmm.
overreactions end up coming back to bite me in the ass. And me fighting and saying, you did this and I'm a good person and I didn't you and you're a lot like that doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Now, do you remember our fight? I don't know if I can even call it that. Do you remember when we didn't talk for a while when we were both in Florida?
Oh, yes, I do remember that, and that was because I flipped out. I think I flipped out over something, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but
Hmm.
I flipped out, and then I assumed that nobody wanted to be my friend anymore.
Yeah, so I can't
Was
remember what the event was either, but I remember, oh, I can't even remember how long it was. I remember when we got back together because I was so upset. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's so mad at me. Again, don't know what happens, can't rehash it. But I remember we were at Lindsay's and I was like, Dana's going to be there and I'm going to have to see her. And oh my gosh. And I got there and you were there, and we really weren't talking because, again, we weren't talking. And I was like, this is so dumb. And I was so brave that day because I am like one of the most passive people. I don't engage in conflict. I don't do this ever. But I valued our friendship so much that I went up to you. We were like in her little like foyer area. And I was
yes.
like,
Oh,
"Are-
I
yeah.
remember
And
it,
I'm
yes.
like, are you mad at me for something? Or I don't even know exactly what I said, but I came up to you and then like you explained it. And I was like, that's not what happened. And we had a whole talking out. And then from there on, we were like, oh, okay. And then I mean, I still think it took a little while for us to rebuild that friendship because it was hard. Like we were both hurt. But then here we are now. That was at least 10 years ago, maybe
Oh, yeah,
longer,
no, that was
actually.
yeah, it was probably longer than that because the boys were still, like,
Yeah, baby
babies.
babies. Yeah.
But I do remember that, and I know that I'm pretty sure what had happened was there was some drama with some and there were some people in that group that they stirred up a lot of
Hmm.
I was like, I engaged in it. Like, I didn't start it, but once they
Yes.
got under my skin, I fought back, and I'm pretty sure that somebody started something and I got upset and I fired back in like a comment on in the mom's page. I was
Mhm.
so mad. And after that happened, I felt like you and a few other people didn't want to be my friend anymore. And I think I was also probably embarrassed because I
Mhm.
knew that I lost my cool and that I was
Mhm.
wrong. And then just assumed that you didn't want to talk to me anymore. And then I totally remember that when you approached me. And I remember feeling like relieved after, oh my gosh, she doesn't hate me. She still wants to be my friend.
Yay.
But I look back and there was some other stuff too that happened, like with some of the other Facebook groups that I ran when I lived here. And people would be jerks and I would let them get under my skin. And then
Mhm.
I would end up looking like the crazy one. Even though I don't think I'm the crazy one, I would just let idiots get under my skin. And
Yeah.
I've really had to learn over time, like how not to do that and how to just be like, okay, let them. Don't take it
Yeah.
personal. This is on them, not me. And just try to let it go instead of fighting back all the time.
Because you can't control other people's actions. The only thing you can control is your reaction. And I think that's the big
Yep.
thing is that it's harder because I want to control everybody else's action and I want to know why they're doing what they're doing, but I don't and I can't read into it. I just have to accept what people do and then make sure that I'm in control of how I'm responding to it. Like I said, let
And I want people to do the right thing. Like, I want people to be nice to each other. I want
Mhm.
people to do the right thing. I want people to be supportive. I want people to show up for each other and just do the right thing. And when I see that people aren't doing that, or if somebody does something wrong to me, I would get so hurt and so mad that I would end up losing my cool completely. And
Yes.
then that just makes it worse.
Yeah, then it
Yeah. So
snowballs,
it's,
then there's more issues, and then there's
yeah.
more messes to clean up, and then it's oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, and it never worked. I just reached a
Mhm.
point where I'm, like, trying to defend myself and stomp my feet and throw a fit. It doesn't mean that the other person wasn't initially wrong, but my reaction to it was also wrong and just always made it worse. I'm not perfect, none of us are perfect, but I feel like that was an area where when we first became friends that I really struggled with.
Mhm.
Over time, I think I've really grown from that and I try really hard not to let stuff like that get the best of me
Yep.
and not to overreact, not to let my feelings be too hurt. Or if my feelings are hurt, I'll talk about it one on one with a friend that I trust and work it out instead of throwing a big fit.
Yeah, because the longer you let things fester too, like to your point of talking about with a friend, because I think, when your feelings are hurt, because they're going to get hurt. Because, like you said, nobody's perfect. People are going to do things intentionally or unintentionally to hurt you. It's going to happen. But to be able to acknowledge the hurt, like, yes, this is hurting my feelings. This is how this action is affecting me. But being able to talk about it and work through it rather than just to like I said, let it fester and eat at you, and then you become bitter, and then you're mean to people. Like, it's a whole thing. It's all about being open, whether it's directly with the person who hurt you or with somebody you trust. I think you have to find a way to acknowledge the feelings and find a path to get through it, or otherwise, you're just going to be miserable.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, as we wrap up here, do you have any final stories or final advice you'd want to share with listeners who may be struggling with adult friendships?
So I will wrap this up by talking about my friend Stacy, who I met. She came out to a dinner that I hosted in November of 2020 2, I think. And she and I clicked that first night that we met. And then she wanted to go see Titanic when the anniversary of
Oh,
Titanic, like
yeah.
they released it in theaters again. And so we ended up going. And this was like my first one on one friend. I
Mhm.
don't even know how many years. Like I'd done some group gatherings and stuff like that, but this was like my first one on one. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and like with a friend and it's just the two of us. And I have these glasses that were broken that I wear to drive. And I drove and I was so embarrassed by the glasses. And I was like, my glasses are broken. I've had them since like 1999. Don't make fun of me. And she laughed. Then we're in the movie theater and we're watching Titanic. And at the beginning of Titanic, when they're like showing all the ruins, there was like a pair of broken like glasses that looked just like my glasses. And she like elbowed me. She's, oh my God, it's your glasses. And she totally made fun of me and I don't know why, but just the fact that we had that little funny thing, she like
Mhm.
made fun of me. And now it's been a couple of years and we are super, super close. She's so sweet and fun and we check in on each other every day. She's also divorced. So we're both single. She's the friend that like she'll be like, "Do you want to come over?" And I'll go over to my house literally in like sweatpants, no
Yes.
makeup, to have a glass of wine talk. I ended up just sleeping on her couch a couple of weeks ago because I was tired and had wine, didn't want to go home. And she's just become like one of like my closest friends. And so for people that are looking for a friend, you can still find friendship even when you're older because we were 46. Our birthdays are very close to each other.
Oh,
So I want to say we were
wow.
45 or we were 45 when we met and became friends. So yeah, now I just feel like she and I will be friends forever. So there's hope if you're out there looking for your person or a really good friend.
I love that story because I do feel like my whole life I've been searching for this one true blue best friend. Because I had when I was younger, and I feel I'm supposed to always have one. And I think that was part of my problem in making friends as an adult is that I tried to make everyone my best friend. How you said at the beginning, it was like dating, and you would find somebody and you'd overlook things so you could make it work. And for so long, I think I was trying to force a person, different people along the way, because it never worked out, to be my best friend. Because even on, again, social media, oh, these are my besties. Here's my best. I'm like, where's my bestie? I'm in my 30s now. Where's my bestie? Here I am in my 40s. And I still don't know that I have that one true person, but I have a couple of them which I can rely on for the same thing. Don't care if my house is clean, they can come over. And I think you're right. Don't stop looking for friends. Don't stop putting yourself out there. There are still great friends to be out there to be made, and somebody may need you to be their best friend too. So always put yourself out there and look for friends and build community and connections because that's
Right.
the best way to do
Right.
it. They're
One more thing
fun.
I want to say about what you just said is that it goes back to what Mel Robbins talked about in her podcast that distance is a big factor. And I feel like
Yes.
you and I had a really great friendship and then we both moved away and there was distance. But if we still lived in the same neighborhood, I feel like we would have continued to be friends, like closer friends. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like we would have continued to have that. And now just because we don't live near each other, we're both busy. We can't do this and have a 2-hour conversation every day and maintain that. But I still consider you a really good friend. And I'm so glad that we got to do this.
100%. And I thought the same thing because even when you were living in Maryland, I would travel for work. I'd go to Virginia and I would always go up and see Dana and we'd do dinner. Or, yeah, the time I went over, spent the night, we had our planner party. Like we were always getting together and still trying to make it work. And we text. And I do think sometimes the distance is distant, but agree, I still count you as a friend. I know I could reach out to you if I needed something. If I were to show up in Florida, I know I could come over. And if you ever come to Missouri, you are welcome here, or we can meet somewhere in the middle. Like, I would love to hang
I
out with
know.
you again. So let's make that happen. But yes, I think that while distance can maybe affect the level of friendship, I don't think it necessarily takes away from the people who are your friends. And I value your friendship.
I value yours too. Thanks for having me on. This was super fun.
No problem. And if anybody wants to follow you, can we know where people can reach out and find you?
Yes. So I'm on pretty much all social media, Facebook, Instagram. I mostly use Facebook and Instagram. Dana McKay Radio.
That's awesome. I'm sure everyone will reach out to you because you're the best. So thanks so much for joining, Dana, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for spending time with me on Talk with Kristen with an E, where it's always cheaper than therapy. If you enjoyed today's chat, don't forget to subscribe. And hey, let's keep these conversations going. You can find me on Instagram at Talk with Kristen with an E. Let me know what's on your mind. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, life is always better when we talk it out.